Well, as to attempting to rebuild Arsenal, it's obviously something that's going to take a lot of time, probably a lot of transfers. But this window, it looks like Arsenal are going to sign Martin Odegaard on loan. To me, this doesn't make any sense, to be honest.
Yes.
Because Arsenal surely don't need another aggressive attacking midfielder. And Real Madrid, it also doesn't make much sense for them because they don't really have much depth in midfield either. They have, I think, 5, maybe 6 midfielders total. If we think Casemiro, Modric, Kroos, your typical 3. Fede Valverde, who's young and still being brought up. Isco, and Odegaard. So to me, it makes no sense for Madrid to let him out on loan. And I mean, Henry, you'll be able to tell us a lot better, but it doesn't seem like Arsenal needs him either, as good as he is.
I disagree. I think ever since Ozil has found himself out of the team, what we have been lacking is an attacking midfielder, a creative number 10. I think I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert on Odegaard. I mean, I know he was fantastic when he played for Real Sociedad. I know he was brilliant for them. I know there were a lot of expectation when he returned to Madrid in his loan. I know he hasn't quite hit that ceiling. But I think he's exactly what we need. It's a low-risk transfer in a position where I think we're crying out for players. If he does well, then we can sit down with Madrid in the summer, review it, purchase him, extend the loan. If it doesn't go well, we can say, okay, we paid for you the amount of money we were going to be paying Socrates for the rest of his contract, and that's cancelled that. So I don't think that there's a real... I think it's a low-risk transfer. And I tell you what, I think I've been very critical of Edu, our director of football. I think this window, I think he's done a fantastic job. I mean, he's already cancelled Socrates' contract and Ozil's. They're gone. That's 6 months of wages we'd have been paying to them. That's over £5 million. He's looking at cancelling Mustafi's contract. I think if we can get in maybe one more player, I know we need a backup left back. If Tierney gets injured, we're screwed. I know we're looking at Bertrand from Southampton. I don't think that will come to fruition. It wouldn't be the worst signing in the world, but I don't think it will happen. I think it's a very good signing from a logistical standpoint and from a performance standpoint on the pitch.
Well, it really does say a lot about Arsenal that there are so many attack-minded options there, and yet they still need someone like Martin Odegaard to come in on loan. As to Martin Odegaard's quality, having watched a bit more of him than everyone else perhaps, yes, he was excellent at Real Sociedad. I wouldn't be put off by him right now at Real Madrid, partly because of the way Zidane is. If there was one major fault with Zidane, the one thing that you'd really criticise him for, is his inability to really introduce youth players. I mean, he's done all right with Fede Valverde, to his credit, although Valverde is a phenomenal player, so maybe it's nothing to do with Zidane at all. But Zidane really, he has his key squad of veterans who he gets on with, and this is where he's really good, because it takes someone that is really respectable to control that sort of dressing room, and that's where he's succeeded. But with the fringe players, he's really struggled. So with Isco, for instance, he's had a lot of problems. With Gareth Bale, he famously had a lot of problems. And with Martin Odegaard, I think that Zidane just for some reason just doesn't trust him, won't play him as much as he perhaps deserves to be played. And this is why he's potentially being released.
You think with your recent acquisition of Brighton's keeper, what do you make of that?
Do you know what, mate? I saw a lot of Arsenal fans are underwhelmed by it. I am very happy with it. I mean, our keeper before him, Ranison, we've only seen him play a couple of games. But he's pony. He's not good enough for the Premier League. He's not good enough to be a second choice keeper in the Premier League. He wasn't even first choice for a team that battled relegation in League One. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking about French League One. League One, I should say.
Yeah.
And Ryan, I know he's been out of the Brighton team for a month. I saw a lot of people saying, he's been dropped by Brighton, making it sound like he's not played a first-team game for Brighton in 2 years. Up until a month ago, he was their first-choice keeper for 3.5 years. I don't think you can sit there and say it's not a good signing.
No,
Premier League proven, it's a backup. He's not a first choice, he's a backup. And I think, considering there haven't been many signings this window, there haven't, who's really signed anyone so far? You know, I'm struggling. I'm probably missing a really obvious one here, but I'm
Yeah,
struggling to
you know
think of
what? There's not been any. Now
a
that you
big
mentioned it,
signing off the top of my head.
no one wants to
Yeah,
spend. I think.
that's true.
I think a lot of it is that combination of COVID, but also the fact that over the past few years we've had among the big clubs suddenly this urge to spend hundreds of millions. There was this after the Pogba transfer, there was this sudden inflation in prices, and in part it's all linked. In that, so for instance, PSG brought Neymar for 222 million, and then suddenly everyone knew that Barcelona had this money, and so they went and signed Dembele, Coutinho, and Griezmann, all of them for over 100 million euros. And you're seeing it all around. Every time someone buys someone for X amount, the club that then gets the money, suddenly all of their prices inflate. You know, when they're trying to buy players. So suddenly there's a lot of clubs who are spending quite recklessly, and I think we're getting a bit of a bit of a reaction to this. A lot of people going,
for sure.
you know, maybe we have been spending too much. And then suddenly COVID hits. You know, the biggest revenues for a lot of clubs are the fans coming into the stadiums. In a lot of cases, you see this with Barcelona. Their museum gets millions each year, and that's been closed because people can't go to it. And so you're getting these repercussions, not just with this inflation, but also with the loss of income. And so I think that's why we're not seeing many signings this winter transfer window.
Yeah, and it's also, I reckon, that more and more teams are kind of fashioning onto the fact that there just tends to be, it does tend to be cost more in general for the winter transfer market. And I think more and more teams have directors of football now, and they want to be more
negotiation because it's only a month, so they try and drag them out, and then they know that the teams are trying to, like, you know, to hike things up. It's definitely a different sort.
Another point of it, like Jack just mentioned there, because they know it's the January transfer window, they know if certain clubs who are struggling want to buy one of players, you can charge them more because they're going to need that player more, right? Than if they would if they bought them in the summer.
They'll refuse offers, yeah. That if they got in the summer, they'll be like, yes, and as I say, and then they'll make them sort of, you know, bleed them out almost a little bit and make them sort of. So I think that's the thing, is a lot of clubs are trying to negotiate but walking away because there's resistance and they're just, you know, they want cheap deals. Maybe bids are lower. Mate, I think there's a little bit of people are trying to be really smart, but everybody wants the money. So it's difficult. It's difficult.